Hello everybody and welcome to Wales bus station. Now usually on New Year's Day, at least in the southwest, but I think it could differ in other parts of the UK, especially in cities such as London or Manchester, usually very little to no services, or bus services that is, run on New Year's Day. I'm unsure why this is, it's probably got something to do with it being a public holiday, but even then services usually operate to a Sunday timetable. However, to combat this year around, however it has happened in the past, and I think it's been organised by a different organisation, the PSV group, located in the Bristol area I believe, have decided to reunite everybody and form the new and improved New Year's Day running day between Bristol and Street, which parallels the normal First West of England 376 service, which currently isn't operating because of course it's New Year's Day, and First Bus in the southwest can only be bothered to operate the Bristol Airport services. Anyway, because I've ranted on so much about bus services in the southwest, I'm already leaving Wales bus station on the first bus service of the day, this time heading towards Bristol rather than Street. This is a Bristol VR, which I believe is preserved by the City Line collection, also based in Bristol, and this ironically wore the first City Line livery, the old first City Line livery, not the newer City Lines livery. Now because this Bristol VR was running a little bit late, around 10 minutes late, even though it only left Wales 5 minutes behind schedule, I decided to get off just before Pensford instead of actually getting off in Pensford village itself, so I decided to get off at the Chelwood house stop. Anyway, a lot of these services at the new 376 running day on New Year's Day actually operate with duplicate services. So for example, there goes Badgers, a Volvo B7R Right Eclipse Urban. However, my bus was the duplicate bus behind it, which is a much older Bristol VRT single-decker. I'll be taking this back towards Chewton Mendip.
This was like
Here I am arriving into Chewton Mendip to cross over the road and change onto the 1102 service heading towards Bristol, which I would once again take all the way to Pensford, or at least I thought so. However, the 1102 departure, that is both the main and duplicate services heading from Chewton Mendip to Bristol, this is the 10:45 departure from Wales, ended up getting cancelled. I'm not sure how to the duplicate bus, as that disappeared all day and never turned up from what I heard and what I saw. However, the main service ended up having a few problems, and therefore a different vehicle had to be sourced all the way from Gloucester. This vehicle was brilliant, and you'll find out what this was later in the video. As for now, I'm not even too sure where that National Express Dennet Dart was going. It's not even on the schedule. But as for now, here I am heading back from Chewton Mendip to Wales. I ended up waiting an hour for the service, 1 hour behind the one I got off, which was a ex-Badger Line Van Hall Volvo B10M coach. This sounded absolutely amazing, and I'm glad I waited for this. However, the audio on the camera didn't really pick it up too well. Here I am arriving back into Wells bus station. Because the buses have to follow the normal First Bus 376 route, the bus had to pass through Wells Marketplace. How he did that in a coach, I'm not entirely sure. That was absolutely amazing and was definitely a squeeze. Anyway, here is Badgers arriving in from Street, and here is my bus to take me back up to Chewton Mendip. There we go, I didn't mess it up this time. This is another Bristol VRT, and this is the one that we actually saw in Chewton Mendip whilst I was ranting on about bus cancellations. Now, I'm not too sure what happened to the dart that was labelled to do this diagram, but I think what happened is that the man actually sold the Dennis dart, and because the bus that he was supposed to be taking to the running day had a few problems, he went up to Gloucester to pick up an ex-Stagecoach West, I think it was Stagecoach West, Dennis Trident Alexander ALX 400. I wasn't expecting this at all. I was expecting a Stagecoach Stripes Dennis dart, and this was absolutely amazing and way better than the dart, considering it wasn't even an old 6-foot one. I absolutely love this Trident, and as much as I love darts, a Trident will beat it any day of the week. I headed back to Wales and then headed back to Pensford on this Trident. Here I am at Wells before I head back up to Pensford on that Dennis Trident. Here you can see the Trident and the Dennis dart, which I wasn't even too sure what it was doing at the time, at Wells bus station, parked up on layover. Here I am leaving Wells bus station, bang on time at 13:47 on this Dennis Trident Alexander ALX 400 heading towards Pensford. After Pensford, the bus will continue, just like all of the other buses, towards Whitchurch and Bristol city centre, passing by Bristol Temple Mead station. Now, I would have started in Bristol, but I didn't actually realise until the day that trains were actually running on New Year's Day. Oh dear, what was I doing? Living under a rock? Now, something very strange happened here. This Dennis Trident left bang on time at 13:47, but the older Bristol bus next to us, that was the green double-decker bus, was actually supposed to leave at 13:37, and we were supposed to catch it up. But in the end, he ended up running massively behind. I'm not too sure why, but because he was a slower vehicle, he did the run to Bristol much slower than what we did. Here I am passing through Clutton. Here I am arriving into Pensford, which is known for its absolutely massive and extremely imposing railway viaduct, which is now abandoned, but sits beautifully up above the village. Here is this Dennis Trident Alexander ALX 400 heading off towards Bristol. A lot of people, including me, were not even aware that this bus had been preserved, but apparently it is preserved, which explains why it was at this running day, and I genuinely just wasn't expecting it. Here is my next and final bus on the section of the 376 route between Wales and Bristol to take me from Pensford back towards Wales. This is of course X-First West of England 66726, otherwise known as Badgers, and is a Volvo B7R Rally Right Eclipse Urban. This bus was one of the best buses I went on, although I have been on it, just like my next couple of buses, quite a lot, and this bus must have had some of the best heating on the whole trip. My house has worse heating than this bus. Here I am now at Wales bus station. Now I'd actually spoken to the driver of that unexpected Dennis Trident earlier in the day, so I did actually know when the Dennis Dart was going out once I'd spoken to that driver of the Trident. So thank you very much to that driver. I'm not sure who he was. He did actually have his stagecoach high vis on, but the bus has been preserved, so maybe he was a stagecoach driver and was just looking after the bus or something. Who knows? But I did actually manage to get on the Dennis Dart. Although it was wearing National Express stickers, and I presume because of that it had previously operated with National Express, obviously a very long time ago because it had the old logos, it had also operated with Plymouth City Bus after it operated with National Express. As I head off towards Glastonbury Street on the final bus of the day on the southern part of the route south of Wales, you can also see Wales Bus Depot, and as we went round that corner you could see the PSV Group's Volvo B70L Alexander ALX 400, which is always a great motor to go on, and that will be my last vehicle from Street back towards Wales. Here I am entering the outskirts of Glastonbury on my way towards Street. As I arrive into Glastonbury town centre, you can see a Bristol VRT heading in the other direction towards Wales. Although most of the route ran hourly, both between Street and Wales and beyond Wales towards Bristol, some of the services actually ran every half an hour throughout certain times of the day, for example in the evening. And on the section of the route between Wales and Bristol, some of the services actually ran every 15 minutes, which I think is incredible for a preserved service. Here I am arriving into Street, where I'm going to change over onto that Volvo B70L Alexander ALX 400 that is in front of us. Here I am leaving Street, Crispin Hall, on the very last service heading towards Wales from Street to Glastonbury. This was formed by both that Dennis Dart, which was on the old National Express livery, but also this Volvo B70L Alexander ALX 400. This is the only bus that was supposed to do this service. I'm not too sure how the National Express Dart even came down here. That was a bit of a strange one, that, but nonetheless, I enjoyed both vehicles. I was actually surprised at how quiet this bus was, considering that a lot of people made the change the other way around, got off the ALX 400 and got on the Dennis Dart in Street. So maybe I was actually smart for once and made the change the other way around and went from the Dart to the Volvo. Here I am arriving into Wells bus station for the final time on New Year's Day. As I arrive into Wells bus station, I'd like to say thank you for everybody's support both on the channel but also everybody's support at this running day as the PSV group organised the whole thing, and I think that is absolutely amazing for a group of people that I don't think have ever done an event. They might have done one or two before, but I've never heard of them. And honestly, I do quite like the PSV group. They do have some good vehicles, including that Volvo V70L. Unfortunately, a lot of their more interesting vehicles, mainly single-deckers, are currently not active and need a lot of restoration in order to get them back up and running. Anyway, as that Volvo B70L, which still wears the very nice first Barbie livery, heads off towards Bristol via the old 376 route via Pensford, Whitchurch and everywhere else that I've been to, apart from Whitchurch of course, I'd like to say thank you to everybody who has watched this video and continues to support me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye everyone!